have a roll call, please?
Ms. Bowes.
Here.
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Ms. Evans.
Here.
Ms. Groger.
Here.
Dr. King. Ms. Pasculi.
Yes, here.
Mr. Pluta. Ms. Santos.
Here.
Okay.
Mr. Van Hise.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Tom. Welcome. The Open Public Meetings Act authorizes the Board of Education to meet in executive session under certain circumstances. Specifically, matters, if disclosed, would constitute an unwarranted invasion of privacy, of individual privacy, and specifically tonight, we will be discussing a HIB and a settlement. Formal action will not be taken, and executive session is expected to last about 15 minutes. I have a motion to move to executive
So
session.
moved.
Second. Tom, with a motion and a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None?
None.
Executive session.
Thank you.
We know better.
See? It's very confusing for them. Yeah. It's confusing.
Before we start the board meeting, I think Dr. Barriaxa wanted to say a few words about our performers tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. Klim. Good evening, board members. Good evening, community. I'd like to call up to the podium Ms. Melissa Clark, one of our music teachers from the district, to say a few words about the performers you just heard.
Thank you. These are some of my students that I teach outside of school that are in their LMS and LHS students. So I'm going to have them each come up and introduce themselves and tell you what instrument they play and how long they've been playing and what grade they're in. Come on up. You're up first.
Hi, my name is Letty. I play the violin, and I've been playing violin for 5 years. Yeah.
And you're in what grade?
Oh, yeah. I'm a freshman.
Hi, my name is Shar. I play the violin. I've been playing for 6 years, and I'm a sophomore.
Hi, my name is William. I've been playing the violin for 4 years, and I'm in 8th grade.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I play viola. I've been playing for 7 years, and I'm a junior.
Hi, my name is Nora. I play the violin. I'm in 8th grade, and I've been playing for 4 years now. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nice job. Thank you.
All right. And our second and final musical performance of the evening comes from the LHS Madrigal Choir. It's the honors choir level at the high school and is led by Ms. Mandy Johnson.
All right, we are so happy to be here tonight. We love coming here and seeing you all. And this evening we have a combination of a couple of Brazilian programs for you. So they're singing a dialect of Portuguese, and it's a little sassy, it's a little fun. And
I like sassy. Meeting.
Thank you. Turns out we like sassy. Nice job.
Thank you so much. That was really amazing. Okay. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the Lawrence Township Board of Ed meeting. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. As required under law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided via email and/or fax to the Times, the Lawrence Ledger, the Public Library, and has been filed with the municipal clerk. This notice was provided prior to the 48 hours required by the Open Public Meetings Act. The board reserves the right to limit public discussion of personnel items and other matters as defined in the law. We will have our flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. First, we have our student representatives. They want to start?
Hi everyone, we're peer leadership. My name's Vanessa and I'm a senior this year at Lawrence High School. So Lawrence Athletics had a really great season this fall. The cheerleading team competed in Red Devil Rally and CVC this weekend, and they won their division and they won their game day as well. And then in addition to that, the girls soccer team made the NJSIAA Central Jersey Championship and will be playing in Jackson Memorial tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Hey everyone, my name is Juan Revlorio. I am a junior. I'll talk about our play. This year, the LHS Theater Company will be presenting Clue. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 7 p.m. We also, homecoming also went really well. We won our football game the 25th, and everyone had fun dancing the 26th.
Hi, my name is Cynthia. I'm a junior. Oh, can I bring this down?
There you go.
Okay. The club Students Helping Honduras has been selling their merch. That sale ends this Friday, the 15th. Class of 2026 is selling pants, which ends on Monday. And the school store just came out with new sweatpants. And if you don't know what the school store is, it's like a store run by the kids that take the marketing class. So that's really cool.
Great.
Hi, my name is Abby. I'm a senior at this high school. In regards to peer leadership, we have freshman seminars up this upcoming Monday. We'll be discussing screen time and time management, and we have parent conferences this Tuesday and Wednesday, the 25th and the 26th in the afternoon.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra Pichonka, and I'm a senior here at Lawrence High School. Some of the upcoming events here at the high school are the Powder Puff game and DECA volleyball next week. So the senior girls and boys have started their football and cheerleading practices for the game, which have been really fun. And also the junior boys and girls have also started practicing, so everyone is working hard and excited for the game, which is on Tuesday, November 19th. And then the following day, DECA is also hosting their fall volleyball tournament on the 20th, so students are also very excited for that event.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. You guys are welcome to stay or leave, whatever you prefer. We will not be offended at all. And now we'll have the adoption of the minutes. Can I have a motion to adopt the executive session and regular section minutes from the 10/9/2024 meeting? Second. Pepper with a motion, first, and a Joanne with a second.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Kroger?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Pasculi?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hines?
Abstain.
Ms. Bose?
Yes.
The motion carried.
Thank you. Reports to the board. Superintendent's report.
All right, just want to say a few words, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Musi to introduce our virtual guest, which some of you see up on the screen. First of all, congratulations to our Lady Cardinals. It's been 25 years since we have made it to the sectional finals. The game is tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I will be there along with our board president, cheering everyone on. Just want to remind everybody, the high school student entry is free to the game, but if you want to get your tickets in advance, it's $5. If not, it's $10 when you get to the gate. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention the bond referendum, which is coming up on March 11th. We are just about 118 days away. That's the next big election to really, make this district create really a footprint for the next 75 years. As I've shared in previous reports, our middle school is 73 years old. Not a lot has been touched to that footprint, and our goal for the impending redistricting and sort of redistribution of resources and grade level bands is something that is absolutely necessary for our district, and we look forward to your support. We will be hosting community conversations moving into the new year to kind of further explain some of this work that's gone into it. So I also just wanted to, thank everyone that's really been a part of the communication of the bond referendum as we move forward. A lot of our board members, as you know, this is not a paid seat. They volunteer a lot of their time. They're out in the community with us. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for all of your support. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Jean Musi to introduce our virtual friend that is online for us. Jean is our Director of Student Achievement, Equity, and Opportunity.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Jean.
So as a school community, we have been working with Alicia DiLorenzo as we focus on our year-long theme of mattering. Alicia is a teacher, counselor, coach, therapist, and a consultant who works to guide communities to discover and scale solutions that already exist within them. Alicia began working with our administration last summer on building a district-wide culture of mattering where all students and all families feel seen, heard, valued, and included. Our teachers and staff were introduced to her very exciting approach to positive disruption when she was our opening day keynote speaker. I think some of you were there. This past Monday, we began having our first of 5 faculty meetings where teachers got to meet with our equity coaches and participate in discovery discussions. We shared how we strive to ensure that students truly feel that they matter. The information that will be collected at all of these meetings, along with additional district data, will help us build a more responsive, supportive, and inclusive educational environment here in Lawrence, where all students will learn and grow, and all families will know that they matter. So it is my great honor to introduce you to Alicia DiLorenzo.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. And Jean, you're getting so good at this, I might be out of a job soon. You really have taken this on in such a powerful way. So as mentioned, my work in education is decades long, and some of the work that I'm doing with you all is some of the work I've been doing over those decades and know the power of this work. So I think what makes a lot of sense for tonight is, one, to start to create a common language and understanding around the terms that you're hearing us use, and then two, to help create kind of a map for you to understand what this work looks like in real time and what will be happening on the ground with your equity coaches and your teachers. So let's start with creating this real common understanding of, you've heard already this language around mattering, and I know that your strategic plan is moving from this place of centering belonging to mattering. Now, when you think about that at first glance, it seems like it's a matter of semantics, right? Oftentimes, this idea of belonging and this idea of feeling and having a sense that you matter are conflated. And there's a lot of overlaps with several other things, self-esteem and connection. And what I want to share with you tonight is the very distinct difference between belonging and mattering. And I think in your own experience, you'll be able to relate to this. So for starters, when we think about belonging, we think about fit, we think about connection, we think about attachment or affiliation. And as a therapist, I would never disagree that that is valuable and that it is important. We know how important it is for us as human beings to feel a sense that we belong. But what the research shows us about belonging is that it's only one part of the puzzle. That the other part of the puzzle here, and the other piece of the puzzle, is this sense that we matter. So where belonging is about fit and connection, mattering is about significance. And when we ask the questions to determine if people are experiencing a sense of mattering, we ask questions like, how important am I to others? How much do people pay attention to me or listen to my ideas or what I have to say? How much do people depend on me? Do I have a role here that can be a contribution? Would I be missed if I weren't a part of this school community anymore? And lastly, is do people care about me? And so if you think about those questions, they land very differently than do I belong, am I connected to, do I fit in here? And so this really raises the level of people's experience and even their own self-concept to the sense that I am significant. And every single human being wants to know that they are significant in the eyes of others. And this goes way beyond school, right? This happens in the workplace, this happens in community, this happens in homes. We all want to know that we are significant and that people in and around us hold us to a degree of significance, that we are important and that we are valuable and that we offer value. And so I want to be very clear that this isn't a matter of semantics. This is really a matter of what we know both on a conceptual and empirical level with the research. That mattering raises the bar for engagement, it raises the bar for motivation, it raises the bar for happiness and overall productivity. I mean, all of the things that we want our students to be able to leave school with or experience while they're there, mattering is core to that experience. And when we think about our own experiences of school, really largely how we felt about school has been influenced by who was there for us and who met us there and greeted us at school and engaged us. And so if you were met by a cranky and demanding and disinterested adult, well, your experience of school, your reflection back on your experience of school would reflect that, versus meeting and being taught by people who have a special interest in you. They care about you, and they care not only about how you're learning, but how you're growing and the experience you're having. And so what we know to be true about students is that students tend to be highly motivated and engaged to the extent that they perceive that people at school care about them and that they matter to them. And likewise, a positive psychological environment in schools exists to the extent that students feel that they belong and are connected to people there that care about them and make them feel like they matter. And so if we know this, right, then we can prevent some of the challenges that we are facing that relate to it. So for example, some statistics around mattering is 2 out of 5 students have no clear sense that they matter. That's 60% of students, and that's particular to school. So 2 out of 5 students really have no clear sense that they matter to other people at school. And 1 in 4 students have no clear sense of belonging. 76% of students really have no clear sense that they belong at school. And overall, 1 in 6 have a sense that they belong, but don't have a sense that they matter. And so here we are with this challenge, right? And knowing, if we know that what's predictable is preventable, then we can do something to prevent those statistics, and we can do something to change those statistics for students. So what is it? What are some of those things? I mean, if I had to give you a recipe of things that contribute to students feeling like they matter, I would say that there's 3 big ones. And just to know, when I'm talking about students, I'm also talking about adults, because we know that our teachers and our leaders also face a crisis of loneliness and isolation. And so I would say there's 3 key ingredients. And those ingredients are, 1, helping people feel seen. Now, I've done a ton of research around this and over 400 surveys of adults in education and school leaders. And when we ask both adults and young people, well, how do you feel seen? It's in the simplest of ways. It's being so present with the people we're engaging, the students or the people that we're leading as school leaders and teachers, that we pause to notice them. We notice things about them and we check in with them, not just about learning, but about their personal lives. And that's the #1 response that people give. How is it that you feel like you matter at school? Students and adults alike say, well, when people check in on me, when they go beyond just the learning or the content, and they really show themselves as human and they get to know me as a human being. That's #1. The second ingredient I would say is feeling heard, right? And so this goes beyond just this acknowledgement of words passed. It really is about being listened to. And #2, across all of those surveys for students and adults around what makes you feel matter, the #2 thing is that people respond by saying, when people listen to me and when they give really good feedback. And kids appreciate that just as much as adults do. And so these two components, feeling seen and feeling heard, they equate to something that is really about feeling valued. And valued is two-pronged. Valued is, one, that I am valued here, but two, that I offer value to others. And that's about being a contribution. That's about having something to give back. That's about being able to use your voice and to put into action things that are going to make a difference, like Robin said, changes that are happening that will last 75 years. And that's this sense that we all want to be a contribution, and that it's reciprocal when we get to be a contribution to others. And so the thing about being valued and offering value is that it cannot happen without the first two ingredients. It cannot happen without being seen, without being heard. It's really nearly impossible to be valued and feel like you can offer value to others. And so here's the thing. The thing is that the ways that we solve for this are really simple. The hard part is that it requires us to change our human behavior. And some of the most complex changes come when we want to change people's human behavior. And that leads me to, well, what are our answers and how do we do this? Like, what is the path forward? And so when I think about the path forward, I think there are already people that are doing this. And I've been with you all since the summer, and I've heard over and over again that there are people here right now in your schools and in your communities that are already doing some incredible, taking some incredible actions to make sure that students feel like they matter here, that they are valuable, that their voices are heard. I mean, just having students representation on your board meetings is a very simple way to make sure that students feel like they are being listened to by adults. So this is what we tap into. In the approach that we're taking, we tap into this idea and this belief that in every single community, there are people right now who have solved for these seemingly intractable problems, but oftentimes their solutions and their innovations are hidden in plain sight. And so I'm very clear and transparent that I don't have answers for you, that I am not coming in with a cookie cutter model of like, do this way and you'll get these results, which can be a little, uncomfortable for some people who want to know this is what we're getting at the end. But what I can tell you is that the process that we're engaging your community in is a process that regardless of the outcomes, which will be wonderful, is a process that engages people to feel like they matter. So let me just paint the picture for you, okay? I shared with you this idea already, this core idea that we believe that there's wisdom already in Lawrence Township, within the community and throughout your schools, that people have already figured this out, how to do this really well. And let me paint the picture with a story from Vietnam. And at first it might not make sense when I'm telling you this story, but I promise it will all become clear. So in Vietnam in the 90s, they faced an incredible challenge where 75% of the children in the villages were malnourished and dying, quite frankly. And a couple, Monique and Jerry Sternin, they were Americans, they were invited to this community to solve this problem, and they had 6 months to do it. And so what they knew is that they couldn't go back to the old ways of always doing, the ways they've always done things before. They couldn't do this top-down kind of like telling people how to change behavior. They really needed to lean into an emergent process and adaptive solutions, like solutions that came from within the community and empowered the community to share their wisdom with each other for it to take hold. And so they started to not look at the problem, which was overwhelming. And honestly, the problem that we're facing today of isolation and loneliness and mental health challenges, it is alarming and it's overwhelming. So similar to the problems they were facing in Vietnam. And they said, we can't just look at this problem. We have to look at the pockets of solutions. And so they started to ask these questions, this kind of somersault question. So is there anybody here whose children are nourished? And even further, are there people here who are the poorest amongst us whose children are nourished? Which means people with the least amount of resources, the most unsuspecting people in the community that have figured out how to solve this problem? And the answer was yes. Of course there were. And so what they did next was they engaged the community in discovering who those people were. Who are these people who have figured out how to keep their children nourished, and what are their practices? Because obviously, we cannot scale people. We can't scale our best leaders or our best teachers or our best parents in the community. But we can share and scale their practices. And so they went to the community members whose children were nourished, and they built deep relationship and connection with them. They started to inquire and say, how are you doing this? You're onto something, and this would be so valuable for this community to learn and to take hold of. And so they figured out a couple of things, and for purposes of time, I'll share just the most relevant. The most relevant thing that they discovered was that the families whose children were nourished, they were feeding their children sweet potato leaves, shrimp, and crab. Now, to you, that may not sound like anything special, but in this community, that food was considered inedible. It was, in other words, it was considered peasant food in the community. And I want to pause here for a second from the story to bring it back to Lawrence Township. And I want you to think about some of the narratives that might be standing in the way of the solutions that are right at hand, right? The ways that we have said, oh, we don't do it that way here, or that's not the way it's ever been done before. And in that narrative, sometimes we block the solution or we block the innovation. And so I want you to think about maybe what some of those narratives are that exist that are keeping us from these really innovative solutions that can scale this sense of mattering for young people. So go back to the story, right? They discover these practices and they said, okay, well, how are we going to engage our community now in a way that is different, that is unique, that really kind of leverages our shared knowledge and our collective kind of efficacy? And so they got creative and they thought, well, instead of doing a PowerPoint or having a slide deck shown to the community or sending out a mass newsletter, we're really going to engage them in a meaningful way. They invited the community to a dinner, and they said the dinner's free, and the only thing we ask is that you bring sweet potato leaves, shrimp, and crab. So the very people that we wanted to change their behavior, we engaged them in the practices from the beginning. And so people came to the dinner, they brought these foods that they were a little suspicious of, and they started asking questions. Why would we bring this to a meal? And in that moment, they started to learn from each other. You mean you feed your children these things and your children are nourished? Wow, how can I learn from you? The people just like me, not some outside expert, not Jerry and Monique bringing their expertise from America to this community to say, this is what's going to work for you. And that is the story and the process and the approach of positive disruption. It's looking for these pockets of wisdom and solutions that already exist in your community, having the community engage in a process to discover them so they take ownership over them, and then being creative about the way we scale and share knowledge with each other. All of my years in education, we have done a really poor job of allowing educators to learn from each other. Oftentimes, the things that stand in the way, they don't have time, the structure and the system is not set up for them to learn from each other, but an incredibly high value. They want to, and they know that there are people who are doing things differently that are getting better results, and they want to learn from them. And so our journey is really this path. Our journey is to engage your equity coaches in learning this process, learning this positive disruption approach, and getting them skilled up to host these conversations where we're inviting all different levels of community together to talk about, hey, who do we really respect for the way that they're helping young people feel like they matter here? And so we'll be engaging all of your staff and teachers. This is already in progress. I think Monday was the first day of these discovery and action dialogues. And then we'll kind of scale that throughout the year, where we'll start to engage family members and say, hey, you know, who is it in this district, in your schools, that really make you feel, you and your family and you and your children feel like they matter? And we'll hear from them, and we'll hear the names that they're bringing up, and we'll ask, what specifically are they doing? And so we'll have community conversations, we'll have school level conversations, we'll have leadership conversations, and we'll have conversations with your young people. Because what I've learned from doing this work is oftentimes what adults think makes young people feel a sense that they matter is very different than what young people will tell us actually makes them feel like they matter. So engaging all voices in this conversation to discover the solutions, and then our task is to get creative, to say, how will we roll what we've learned out in such a way that we are engaging people to change their behaviors in a way that's non-threatening, in a way that is different and empowering, and quite honestly, a way that exists long after any of us are here. You know, administrators, superintendents, leaders, teachers, they will come and go, and your community will still be there. And when people have the tools to move through this process, any challenge that you face as a community, as long as it requires behavior change, this can be applied to over and over again. I always, use the example of, like, if you weren't experiencing, high reading levels in your district, but you looked at the data and you said, well, overall our reading levels are really low, but in these pockets, we look at our data, these pockets show us that there's a couple of classrooms or a couple of teachers where reading levels are through the roof. We just rinse and repeat this process. We say, okay, well, we know there's positive disruptors here. How do we learn from them? And how do we engage people in an empowering way to take on new practices without feeling threatened by them? And so that is the journey that we're on. And we know that discoveries will be made that already exist. And we are hopeful that, by engaging all voices, we open up the solution pool, and we have a path forward that lives on long, beyond your time on the board, or, the people in this room's time in this district, that goes on for years and years. And let me go back to the story real quickly about Vietnam. Those practices that took place there in the 90s, they're still in play today. I'm in direct contact with Monique Sternin, who just came back from a trip from Vietnam a couple months ago. And she said they're now calling it the grandmother effect. That these mothers who were part of this original cohort of discovering these solutions and feeling empowered that the answers were right within their reach and spreading them and scaling them, they've now passed that down 2 generations. It's 2 million young people have been impacted by these practices and are no longer facing that devastation of malnourishment. And I think, and I know, not that I think, but the work that I've done across the state, and being able to leverage the wisdom of Monique, who's done this across the globe for 30 years, globally successful approach to seemingly intractable problems, I know that Lawrence Township isn't going to be any different. I know that we're going to uncover incredible practices that can be shared in meaningful ways, and really give people a sense that they matter, that what they're doing matters, and that the impact that they have on young people matters. And so I am grateful that you trust me to do this work with you, to be a guide. Again, I don't have the answers. The whole goal is that the answers are discovered from your community. And I want to thank you for this opportunity to work with your school, to have this impact, and have you all be a part of it.
Thank you so much, Alicia. We really appreciate it. I was able to actually step into one of the sessions with our equity coaches, and Alicia is always a bright spot for our district and really empowering words tonight, so I appreciate your work. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, go ahead, Alicia.
Oh, no, I just said you're so welcome. Thank you.
I don't even know where to look.
I know, we're not sure which direction to look in. We've got a few screens up. So thank you so much for your time, Alicia. We do wish you a nice evening. We won't be offended if you log off from the rest of the board meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. All right, so we have just one last thing under my report. We have, which is huge, our Lawrence Township Education Foundation. I'd like to call up Bonnie Giglio because we have to award, we have a lot of teachers that are recipients of our fall grant cycle. I'll turn it over to you, Bonnie.
All right, hello. I'm going to invite my other board members up here because you don't want to hear me talk the whole time. My name is Bonnie Giglio. I'm the executive director of the Lawrence Township Education Foundation. I'm here today, thank you so much, to present the board with our fall grant funding. The LTEF receives grant requests from teachers in all 7 LTPS schools. Teachers in every school look around their classrooms and their school buildings and think of ways to improve the lives of their students, take time out of their personal lives to apply for the grants to fund these ideas. We have a rubric that we evaluate each grant by, and our entire volunteer board reads each grant and evaluates them based on that rubric. Our grant committee reviews the evaluations and makes funding decisions based on those scores. This fall cycle was very competitive, and there were many wonderful grant requests. This cycle, we have been able to fund 26 grants for a total of $46,354. If you are an if you're an LTPS staff member and a grant recipient today, please stand up so that we can properly applaud you. Awesome. You can sit down. Okay. We want to thank every educator who took the time to apply for a grant, and we're sorry that we couldn't give all of the grant requests their funding. We encourage every teacher to apply for the spring cycle, which will open in a few weeks and will close February 18th. We are now going to review the grants that we funded. If any teacher is here, you can stand when your grant is called. So the first few grants I'm going to read are ones that were for multiple schools. That means a teacher applied for funding to go to multiple schools in the district. The first grant is expanding social emotional support for pre-K to 6 using sensory paths. So that's all elementary schools and LIS. Was awarded to Ebony Latimer, Jeff Hewitt, Kristen Burke, Amy Ament, and Allison Fisher. This, oh, you can stand up if you want. This project will provide one outdoor sensory path for each elementary school and LIS in order to support social emotional learning strategies for each student, and Slackwood will receive an indoor sensory path as well. The use of sensory paths will be a supplement to the responsive classroom and zones of regulation social emotional curriculum currently being used within LTPS. Congratulations. Our second grant is Making Music with Otto Gross. At Slackwood and Eldridge Park. That was awarded to Tanya Damon and Debbie Lingle. This musical program will provide an all-school assembly with dynamic composer, educator, performer Otto Gross at all schools at Eldridge Park, or for all classes at Eldridge Park, and another all-school assembly at Slackwood. I'm going to skip some of this. It's going to take forever. The next grant we have is the Keys of Success at LIS, Slackwood, and LES. This grant was awarded to Bess Ploner, Tanya Damon, and Matthew Schloman. I got that. I got it. This grant will fund much-needed new and some keyboards to Slackwood Elementary, Lawrenceville Elementary, and LIS. These new instruments will ensure that all students from these schools feel confident when making music, both in the general music classroom and in choral rehearsals. And our last multi-school grant is working with Dr. Beth Guerra, Steering Teacher Extraordinaire at LIS and LMS, awarded to Melissa Clark. Nope, I went too far. This project will provide an opportunity for 5th to 8th grade string players at LIS and LMS to work with Dr. Beth Guerra, a local music educator who will work with the ensembles on the spring concert music. Okay, so now I'm going to let somebody else tell.
Hello, Charles Snelling's here, one of the, on the board for the LTF. And I'm going to go through Ben Franklin here. The first one we have is Word Wallet, and it's awarded to Rachel Burke and Beth Hopkins for $250. This program will provide interactive activities for students in grades 1 through 3 at Ben Franklin in order to facilitate learning in the areas of reading, math, spelling, writing, grammar, science, and social studies. The next one is Playful Pathways to Math and Writing for $1,058 to Kim O'Boyle, Terry Krisak, Joe Fredericks, and Lonnie Chaucer. This grant will provide multi-sensory jot writing tablets for kindergarten students to use for both math and language arts to supplement our curriculum. The next one is the Sensory Room at Ben Franklin for $1,002. And it's Rebecca Babe, Michelle Tong, Megan Umbach, and Joelle Weidenbaum. This sensory room will provide the opportunity for sensory experiences for all students at the school. This will be a place for kids to calm down, take a break, and regulate throughout the school day, regardless of the educational program that the student is placed into. And with that, we're going to move to Eldridge Park Elementary School. Oh, already there. All right, so first one here is Amplified Learning. And that is awarded for $1,657 to Frederick Barrett, Debbie Lingold, Amy Emmett, Trisha Burns, and Patty Nalbaum. This project will provide portable speakers that are quick to set up and easy to transport without the need for technical support. It will benefit all the students at the school, and the portable speaker system will add excitement and increase student engagement and enhance special events. And then the last elementary school is the Zones of Regulation Book Nook Library, $800 to Lisa Adams. This project would create a robust library of self-regulation and social-emotional learning trade books that will supplement the Zones of Regulation digital curriculum for the staff's use in all classrooms.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Baldessari, a retired teacher from Lawrence Intermediate School, and now a member of the LTEF. And I'm going to read the Lawrence Intermediate School grants, which I think there are 7 of them. Yeah. First one is called Unlocking Minds, Enhancing Learning Through Logic, Games, and Puzzles for $498. And that was awarded to Juliet Le and Monica Pontari. And this grant provides logic, games, and puzzles for LIS, allowing teachers to create a more interactive and stimulating classroom environment that encourages students to think creatively and collaboratively. This addresses a critical need for engaging and effective learning resources that promote higher order thinking skills among the 4th through 6th grades at LIS. Next one is The Ceiling is Limitless for $500, and that was awarded to Morgan Piscatelli, Jessica Dumont, and Sarah Yaskowitz. And this grant will fund a project to paint some ceiling tiles at LIS, with inspirational sayings and pictures that inspire creativity, and joy. Positivity, creativity, and joy. This project will allow students an opportunity to showcase their artwork and creativity, will foster peer collaboration, establish growth and positive mindset, and will further involve students within their school community through participating in the creation of a ceiling tile, which will be showcased within the school. Revamp the AMP for $9,341, awarded to Sharon Ross, Bess Ploner, and Bruce Krasinski. This project will provide a completely updated and high-quality sound system for our multi-use cafeteria and gym at the Lawrence Intermediate School.
Yes.
I know. Our current system has been partially updated by an LTEF grant last year, but the rest of the equipment is from 30 to 40 years ago. This grant will impact every single Lawrence Intermediate School student and their families for the next 15 to 20 years, and all in-school and after-school events will be using this system. Then we have Change with a capital ME for $1,500 for Jessica Dumont. This program will provide a class set of nonfiction texts and lesson plans for all fifth grade humanities teachers at Lawrence Intermediate School in order to increase awareness and inspire students with remarkable stories of young change makers just like themselves. This project will also provide students with an opportunity to participate in a virtual visit with author Stacy C. Bauer, author of the best-selling Young Changemakers series, in which she will discuss topics included in her background, her journey as a writer, and the lessons from her books with our aspiring writers and artists. Then we have Comfort in the Classroom for $983, and that's to Ashley Graham and Stephanie Bryan. This project will provide flexible seating for fifth grade students at Lawrence Intermediate School in order to provide a variety of options of comfortable seating to meet each individual's student's needs. I Want to Rock for $437 by Dave Boggs.
Yes.
This grant allows LIS to jump on the pickleball bandwagon with the purchase of pickleball rackets and pickleballs to give 4th to 6th graders opportunities to play racket sports. The grant also includes a music subscription to iFit Radio, which is unique and has its different tempos and mixes designed for movement and exercise to use in PE, keeping kids moving forward on cardiovascular fitness that is so important to healthy living. And last, for LIS, Ignite Your Passion, 6th graders in Makerspace for $4,050, Juliet Le and Monica Pantari. And this project will provide enhancements to the Makerspace Passion projects by funding the Bolt and Robot system. This will allow 6th grade students at LIS to explore new interests in order to enhance their creativity, critical thinking skills, and hands-on experience with various technologies and mediums. And that's it. LIS.
Hello, my name's Erin Barnard. I'm a board member for LTEF, and I'm going to read the grants for Lawrence Middle School. The first we have is a general music ukulele unit for $800, awarded to Kristen Brasino, Ron Taglarino, and Tom Zumchek. This project will provide 10 ukuleles for 8th grade students in general music class at Lawrence Middle School in order to demonstrate knowledge of the elements of music unit, as well as strengthening fine motor skills, oral skills, and rhythmic and melodic understanding. The next is flexible seating for students for $1,200, awarded to Laura Niglio and Cassidy Mansman. This project will provide flexible seating in various formats for special education students at Lawrence Middle School in order to better meet the needs of every student in our classroom and make learning more accessible. Next, I have a few for Lawrence High School. The first is Positive Physics for $399, Brian Miner. This grant funds the use of Positive Physics as a platform for extended learning. Positive Physics provides thousands of problems as well as step-by-step example solutions. Students will have materials that will allow them to take learning further into their own hands. The next is Beautify Apartment 106 for $365. That's Nicholas Pren and Danielle Davis. This project will provide creative and social opportunities for AP Art and Quest students grades 9 through 12 at Lawrence High School. Additionally, it will help to renovate and beautify Apartment 106, which is the home base of the Quest program. Students from both programs will have an opportunity to express themselves creatively, as well as socialize with individuals from diverse backgrounds. The next is We See for $300 to Eileen Kramer. This grant will provide 10 sets of the card game We See for use at Lawrence High School to encourage creativity, curiosity, and connection. We See will give students a unique opportunity to develop higher level thinking skills and foster creativity. The next grant is Art on the Go, Safe Transport for Student Artwork for $380, awarded to Sarah Foster. This grant will fund 10 portfolios for art students to safely transport their artwork to and from school. These portfolios will allow any student who would like to spend more time working outside of school in their creative element a safe way to bring their artwork home. The next is Math with Me in Mind Pilot for $1,500. That goes to Dr. Damian Barriexza. This grant will provide ASI math teachers in grades 6 through 8 access to the Math with Me in Mind program, a framework supporting striving math learners through both a skills-based and social-emotional lens. The program would support all learners with a focus on ASI students in LIS and LMS.
All right, I'm going to finish it up, I promise. All right, the last three at LHS. We have Liar, Liar, Music on Phones for $1,960. That's Michael Drobish and Isaac Park, class of 2025, who I believe is the drum major. We love when students get involved in the grants. So this grant will outfit the high school marching band with lyres built to accommodate a variety of different phones. Much like many of the college marching bands, this will allow the directors to make changes to drill, show music, and pep tunes digitally and push it out to students in a more effective manner. Our next grant is equipping photo, video, and gaming classroom for $1,729 to Timothy Williams. This project will provide advanced multimedia and gaming equipment for grades 9 to 12 students at Lawrence High School to enhance inclusivity, foster creativity, and develop technical skills. The equipment will support activities from weekly school broadcasts to esports competitions to photography classes, creating diverse opportunities for student engagement and preparing them for future academic and professional success. And our last grant is Advancer Shelves for $2,072 to Alexandra Holmock. This project will provide 10 Advancer kiln shelves for pottery classes at LHS in order to enhance the quality and efficiency of kiln firings, improve durability and longevity, and support the growing number of students in the pottery program, as well as teacher aides involved in kiln operations. So again, we want to thank every LTPS educator who works every day to improve the lives of our children. We also thank you, the Board of Education, for all that you do to make the LTPS a wonderful place. We thank all of our donors and everyone who was able to attend our very successful handbag bingo last month. But no worries if you missed it. We'll be back again next year. We also have an amazing talent show coming up. Save the date for April 4th right here at LHS. Thanks again.
If we could just have every board member, LTEF member, and the teachers for a picture in the pit, and grab your check for the picture.
Can I just say, too, the creativity with the titles, award-winning. I don't know if I could have come up with some of those.
Ma'am? Dr. Ma'am?
Want us all down there?
Come on, board members, we take a picture.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a lawyer.
And I couldn't even see her. She never.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you to LTEF for all your hard work. I really know that the full board and administration and all of our school appreciates all the hard work LTEF does for us. I have a very quick report. I just want to just let everybody know on December 10th, at 5:45 at the Lawrence Senior Center is an amazing small business networking event that is hosted by the Lawrence Township Growth and Redevelopment Committee. All small businesses are invited. Anybody from the township can go. We will also have our DECA students there and our advisor, Mr. Tees. It's a great opportunity to see some of the new businesses in our community, and there is a keynote speaker, Dr. Ronald Cook, who is from Rider University, and he's an expert in small business management. And so it's a great forum to sort of start getting our businesses connected with our students and our community in one place. I do believe it's going to be the start of ongoing networking events, probably twice a year, but this is the first one, so get in on the ground. There's some flyers in the back, as well as if you go to the Lawrence Township Growth and Redevelopment Committee Facebook page, you can get some more information on it. I just would love an RSVP so they have an understanding of approximately how many people are going to be there. I will be there along with some of the others from our schools. So I just wanted to say that. I am so sorry. I skipped over the board secretary report. So I'm sorry.
Do not worry about it.
Now we'll have our board secretary report. I was enthusiastic and excited about our networking event.
I'll defer to the Finance Committee report so I don't steal your thunder.
Wow.
To bring you up to speed, we will be beginning our budget creation. We've already begun. And so we'll be doing that in anticipation of bringing you something for your consideration in January. But we've already begun the personnel and the health benefits budgets. That is in full swing. And so we'll be bringing that to finance. We've already introduced the topic to them, and I'll stop there so that you have more information to present for your report. But that's what's taking our time at this time. We are very excited about the idea of the bond referendum coming up, as Dr. Klim has reported on. And if you have any questions about anything on the agenda, please bring them forward. And of course, the financial documents are in your hands every month in the form of a board secretary's report, and it's there for your review. Joanne, I know you love to review it. So that's all I have for you.
Thank you, Tom. We will have committee reports, community relations and legislative affairs.
Community Relations met October 28th at 8 a.m. In attendance were myself, Amanda Santos, Joanne Groger, Rob Pluta, Diana Pasculi, Vanessa Bukarsiak, Dr. Robin Klim, and Jen Baldessari. We had a nice conversation about our preschool expansion. The district is working on several potential locations for a few classrooms throughout Lawrence, which is very exciting. We had a community conversation on October 29th, fantastic turnout. Wanted to thank again to the PTOs of Slackwood, EPS, and LES for the pizza that was provided for all of our families in attendance. We had some really great feedback and questions from the community around several topics, and it was a really great evening. We discussed our referendum timeline. There are going to be some meetings with the PTOs. We're going to have a conversation with the LIS families in the future, so look forward to communication regarding that. We reviewed 2 policy updates. We have two policies moved to second reading tonight, and that is it.
Great, thank you. Now we have our student board member, Edison Ryan.
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to share the latest updates on behalf of the students in our district. This month's report highlights both the strengths in our schools and some recurring themes in student feedback, offering valuable insights into how they feel about their learning experiences. Starting with LHS, students shared that they enjoyed the diverse curriculum and interactive class activities. However, similarly to last month, many expressed frustration with limited access to essential online resources, such as blocked websites critical to completing schoolwork linked from teacher-provided activities and a recently restricted bookmarks bar on their Chromebooks, which they feel hinders their productivity and learning. At the middle school, new initiatives like the Restorative Circles and the Cardinal Club are having a positive impact on student engagement. The Restorative Circles program, led by a trained group of 8th grade students, provides a safe space for conflict resolution as an alternative to traditional disciplinary measures. The creation of the Cardinal Club is aimed at rewarding students who maintain good academics and positive behavior with access to special school-sponsored activities. At the intermediate school, students reported positive feelings about their learning environment, especially their engaging projects and supportive teachers. However, like their high school peers, they voiced concerns over restricted access to online resources, particularly websites required for class assignments, and they also miss the bookmarks bar. I'd like to note here that administrators are actively working to address the technological concerns of the student body, aiming to alleviate these issues in an effective and timely manner. In our elementary schools, students are enthusiastic about their recent activities. At Ben Franklin, the Halloween parade was a high point, with students enjoying the chance to dress up and celebrate together. At EPS, both the Character Kickoff event and Peace Week received great feedback from students who appreciated the team-building activities and community-focused lessons. These events have helped build a sense of community and inclusion. LES students are generally pleased with their school year so far, highlighting their appreciation for their teachers and a strong sense of community. They suggested that more integrated classroom activities could further enhance this feeling of inclusion. Finally, students at Slackwood particularly enjoyed their field trip to the Anderson-Kapner farmhouse and have shown preference for more project-based activities. They have also voiced a desire for healthier lunch options. In summary, students across the district have largely positive perceptions of their school environments, feeling supported and engaged, especially through interactive activities and school events. At the same time, there's a strong desire for improved access to resources. Thank you for considering these insights, which I hope will help us continue making our schools an even better place for all students. This concludes my report.
Edison, can I ask you a quick question?
Yep.
Regarding the technological difficulties, you mentioned that some administrators are aware of this. So
Yeah.
will you be following up on that, and will you be able to give us some feedback on what you learned? Regarding the administrators and whether or not there is any remedy to the problems that...
So as soon as progress is made, and I probably won't bring up the technological concerns in the next month's report unless progress is made, but as soon as it is, I'll report back on that.
Got
and
it, that's it.
See how it's going. Yeah.
Great. Do you have any solutions to remedy? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple I'm thinking about. I'm currently working with the Computer Science Club, seeing if we can work on some student-inclusive solutions to address at least the blocked websites, and we'll see if we can get progress on that. But,
That connects directly with what we just had.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Edison. And thank you for the report on the elementary schools. I
Yeah.
think that's a really great addition for us as board members to hear. And really, this is sort of what we need to hear, the student perspective on what's going on. So thank you so much. That was great.
Of course. My pleasure.
Great. Okay. New Jersey School Board Association.
I wasn't sure if you're going to skip me too, like Tom normally keeps.
No, that was an accident.
I'm saying. All right, legislative update. I talked last time about the bills that move forward, so I'm not going to take the time to go back and talk about those again. But the one Read bill passed establishes requirements for library materials in public schools and public libraries, protecting the school librarian staff. So that did move forward. That was exciting. November 14th, there's a webinar available. Title is Learning Loss to Learning Games, Leveraging AI. And November 18th, Education Matters podcast. You can find all of these if you log on to New Jersey School Boards. There's one for the 27th of November, legislative update. So you'll get briefed on any active laws that have been passed. So if you want to jump in on those, please do. Several counties have virtual meetings, which you're welcome to jump in on those. Best practices, mastering board operations, Robert's Rules of Order, vaping issues from school boards, just to name a few. I'll move on. Delegates Assembly, I sat in on the subcommittee. We had 3 4-hour meetings, and we had about 17 resolutions. It should have been 20, but a few were pulled back. Interestingly, one of the resolutions that was discussed was removing the clause that we have to post in a newspaper because so many newspapers are folding, and we're looking to move it to not just, but adding online ability to do that, because most people are reading their news online. Most of them a lot of them had to do with school state funding. One was dealing with HIV concerns. A big one, which I asked Kevin about, was when developers come in, the money that the township gets, it affects the communities. A lot of these were found to ask them to pull them because we cannot control, nor should we control, the community. So there are policies already in place, so most of those were the few that were pulled. So it's interesting. The Delegates Assembly will be in December, and I'd love to have someone come with me so that we can pass the baton. I'll give you the exact date. I think it's the 17th, but I don't want to be held to that. It's at Mercer County Community College. It's an experience. And I think everyone should take a turn just to see how the process works. Let's see. Mercer County, our county meeting is coming up November 21st. It is hybrid, so if you wanted to stay home and from the comfort of your home, you can, but would love you to come. It's going to be held at Trenton Board of Education Building. We've invited newly elected board members to come early for the 3 Rs to prepare them for stepping on as a newly elected board member. And from there, they'll progress over to our county workshop. November 4th, I attended a countywide president's meeting. We discussed upcoming events. And you all probably received today notice about voting for positions for the county and also talking about the bylaws. So take a second to click on, fill out the form, and we'd appreciate that. And that's my report. Thank you. Student Services.
Student Services meeting was held on October 28th. In attendance was Vanessa Bakarsiak, Dr. Michelle King, and myself, Arndell Clark. Awareness Month recognitions. LTPS has completed its dwarfism awareness and augmentative and alternative communication months from October. This was an informative month, and we look forward to celebrating it again next year. Vacant positions, LTPS positions continue to be filled throughout the district. There are still some remaining positions that will be taking some additional time and attention as they are needed to fill. Trainings, Student Services will be providing professional development to speech therapists, MD teachers, and CST on augmentative and alternative communication. Training was provided for the art, music, library, special teachers, and PE teachers of the elementary schools and LIS at the Mercer County Special Services School District. That's my report.
Great, thank you. Do we have any communications? No communications. So it's our first opportunity for public input. Please state your name. You can write your address down and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Dad?
There's no place to write.
Oh, sorry.
But I will give it to you. It's fine.
You can start.
Okay.
She'll bring you paper.
We can find you.
I know where you live.
I'm also here quite often. Anyway, thank you. My name is Jeremy Ryan, and thank you for the opportunity to address, the board and our community. First, I wanted to express my appreciation for the new website. The design and usability are greatly improved, making it a much more effective resource for our community. I know that maintaining content is a constant challenge, particularly for each school's calendar, but as someone who subscribes to both the district and the high school's iCal calendar feeds, the information it provides is more comprehensive than ever. So congratulations and thank you for your efforts to everybody who participates and maintains that content. On a completely separate topic, I also wanted to give a different comment. I'd like to take a moment to share reflections born from the last board meeting on the importance of cultural programs in our schools, especially in terms of measurable student outcomes and lifelong benefits. Connected world. Regarding the trip to China specifically, as mentioned, which Mr. Pluta and others have questioned, it serves as a prime example to me of these programs with such benefits. This isn't an indulgence, it's an investment in our students' futures. Students who participate in cultural exchanges and experiences have profound growth. They develop a global perspective, learn to appreciate different ways of life, and bring back enriched perspectives that benefit the entire school community. According to the American Council on Education, students involved in the cultural exchange programs are 60% more likely to pursue careers that involve global collaboration, a testament to long-term career impact these experiences provide. And to be clear, the true investment here isn't in the staff, as was one comment from the last meeting. It's in the students and the multitude of positive ripple effects they bring back, not only to our schools, but also to our community. In a survey by the American Council on Education, 70% of students with cultural exchange experience felt they were better prepared to work in diverse teams and handle cross-cultural interactions in the workplace. These studies show that to prioritize cultural programs doesn't just raise test scores, it raises well-rounded, curious, and capable individuals. That's what true educational excellence looks like to me, and I'd like to remind all board members, current and future, that our role as a community and yours in your roles at the schools is to facilitate students' preparedness for a global world. Supporting their exposure to culture is critical in achieving this mission, with benefits that go beyond the classroom and pay measurable dividends. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. This evening, we are going to have a board discussion and work session. I'm going to hand it over to Diana Pasquuli and Michelle King. They're going to lead us in the board self-evaluation with New Jersey School Board Representative Mary Ann.
Mary Ann Friedman, are you?
Yes.
Yes.
Come on down.
Come on up. I'm not sure where you'd be most comfortable, seat at the table, standing at the podium. Okay.
Thank you for joining us.
So, not required, but very vigorously suggested is that each school board in New Jersey completes a self-evaluation of their progress, achievements, and challenges. This school board has completed that, certainly for this year. We all have received a compilation of each of our assessment of ourselves. It asks us to assess our board as a whole and to assess each of us as an individual. We would like to use this tool to develop at least one or two goals that we would work towards over the next year. And the goals would be delineated into action plan items. And we have subcommittees that are likely to be able to cover whatever these goals are. So Mary Ann has come tonight from the New Jersey School Boards Association and is quite familiar with the document that each board member has completed and is going to start us off with a few minutes of a review. From there, we're going to open it up for discussion. Based on your reading of our self-evaluation, is there an area that you would like to propose that we as a board set as a goal for ourselves for improvement?
Okay, thank you for having me. My name is Mary Ann Friedman. I am a senior field service rep with the New Jersey School Boards Association. My voice goes out on me because I have vocal cord issues. I promise you I am not sick. I always have to start that off because if I'm standing close to somebody, as my voice starts to go, they start to back away. So that's not the case. But congratulations on completing the board self-evaluation. This is something that is not mandatory, but we do consider it to be best practice. It provides the board with the opportunity to identify strengths and challenges that they feel they may have and areas that they might want to strengthen or grow into. And so we consider anything that is a 3.0 or above in a rating average to be a board that's working effectively together. Okay, and you can see from this evaluation that those scores are all above 3.0. And so we ask you to evaluate yourselves on planning, policy, student achievement, finance, board operations, board performance, board superintendent relationships, board staff relationships, and board and community relationships. And you'll notice that there's an area that says about the board that you evaluate yourselves on, and that asks you to evaluate the Board of Education, and then about you, the board member. You'll see that there's a discrepancy in the numbers. That's because Dr. Klim completed this board self-evaluation, which is absolutely wonderful, okay? So the numbers are reflected up top as 10, but then at the bottom, about you, the individual board member, because administration doesn't complete that.
Makes sense.
The numbers are 9, so there's 10 at the top and 9 at the bottom. Okay? And also, for some reason, Dr. Klim's comments on each of the ratings are there, so that's why you see 10 at the top and 9 on the bottom. But her comments weren't compiled with the evaluation when I compiled it. So there's a separate sheet in here that looks like this, that has Dr. Klim's comments, which are very, very nice, and then her comments on the 3 challenges that are facing the district and what additional training the board might want to receive. So As we go through that, I wanted to point out, so I don't know whether you've all had a chance to look at the graphs or the charts. So the first thing that we do is ask you about quantification of relative value. This is the last time you're going to hear us talk about that because we're changing the board self-evaluation for next year, and it won't have the quantification of relative value. But what the quantification of relative value simply put means the value is what you feel you should be able to perform at, okay? The value that you give each of those 9 areas. And then the performance, we compare that on that first chart with the value that you ranked each of those 9 areas to the board's performance. And you'll see that those areas are very close together. There's not anything that's really a gaping, big difference. Also, the first 5 areas going across the bottom, planning over to board operations. So it's planning, policy, student achievement, finance, and board operations. Those are your task areas. So those are areas where typically a board will feel that they do better as a board than they do as individuals. And then those last 4 areas are your relationship areas. And that's the areas where individuals usually feel they do better, because as individuals, we usually feel we do better in a relationship than we do as a group, right? So that's some of what you see. So the first chart is the value to the board, and you'll see that they are very, very close together. I kind of think of that as what your capacity is, or what your ability is, and what your performance is. So it's kind of like, student achievement, what's your ability and what's your performance, and they're very, very close. Then on the second chart, you'll see the ratings are board to individual. So the blue column going up is the board's rating, and then the yellow column is the individual. And you'll see that in 7 areas, the board rated itself higher than or equal to than individuals. Okay, and that's kind of unusual because, as I said, those relationship areas, usually people feel that they do better as individuals than they do as an entity, as the board. And then in 2 areas, the board rated itself higher as individuals. And those 2 areas were planning and board and community. Okay? I don't have a self-evaluation from last year, so next year we will have a self-evaluation, and we hopefully will be able to compare it to this year. And as I said, this year we're using the board self-evaluation. I believe we've had it for about 15, 16 years. So it was time for a revision, and we've made those revisions, and hopefully that will be reflective in what everybody can see next year, which will be available probably in February or March. Okay, so any questions on the self-evaluation? Again, this is a high-performing group. You're working highly effectively together from the numbers that you've identified and that you've rated yourselves in. So I commend you on that and on the fact that you've done it, because it does, as Dr. King said, set the table very nicely for thinking about Board of Education goals. And I know that Dr. King and Diana, where's Diana? Diana, will talk about a little bit about what they took from the board self-evaluation in terms of what their thoughts are. Okay?
So Diana and I had an opportunity to get together and look at this compilation. Oh, sorry. Diana and I had an opportunity to get together and look at the compilation of data and review some of the comments, and we tried to pull out sort of some things that were jumping out to us. But again, this is all just very particular to the 2 of us. So we're hoping to engage all of you. At the time, we didn't have Dr. Klim's comments, so that should be included. But I am beginning to see some threads running through between what Diana and I spoke about and Dr. Klim. I don't know, Diana, do you want to go over the themes, or should I keep going?
2 high-level themes?
Yeah.
Sure. So what we did was look at the relative comparison, but also mostly the comments to see, like Michelle said, if there were any themes. And so we looked at certain suggestions around developing systematic check-in system to evaluate progress towards strategic goals, and thinking about a little bit more in advance, thinking about the benchmarks that we would see throughout the year. So we have set goals, we've worked together as a team strategically, and then thinking about what are the check-ins at our different committees on our different goals. What should we see at a certain time period, starting with possibly in February, even a mid-year, and then moving up gradually to more quarterly check-ins. Or reverse, thinking about our goals and thinking about what part of the main board meeting on a monthly basis could be looked at. We could look at some of the benchmarks a little bit more purposefully. I think if you see some of the strands, we do this, but sometimes we don't name it. And so, again, it just seemed like some people wanted to see a little bit more progress tracking on our goals. Policy making was something else that came through, and so there were different comments around this. And again, we want to hear more from all of you, but we saw that there were a few different comments around our process for reviewing the policy implementation. And we know we do review those and discuss them in committees. So again, it might just be that making sure that everyone feels like they've reviewed them. We're not sure. We're posing that as a discussion point. And the way we do this, just for the public, is that, like you've heard, at every committee, we are reviewing the policies that are relevant to that committee. So it's happening, but then we just saw that there were a few comments that it's an area of growth. So we would like to know more from all of you what you think that is.
So regarding the policy, one thought that came up with Diana and I, yes, we do note which policies are being first reading, second reading, and I don't know how pertinent it is to the community to have just a little snippet of understanding of what that policy covers. And I don't know how easy or not that would be, Kevin, to do a snippet.
What I'm wondering, is there a way that, I know when I send out the copy of our agenda, the link is there. So if someone wants to click on the link to read it, to understand, so when we make comments or people that ask questions of the chair, maybe that's what we should think about sharing, committee-wide.
Or sharing among us.
No, I'm saying when I see on the committees that I don't serve on,
Yeah.
I see the title, if I could click on the link, yes, I can go back and I can do it all on my own, but if it's easier for me as I'm reading the report, click on a link for a policy that my committees that I'm on are not reviewing, I can scan it, and then if I have questions, go to the chair of those committees. Is that something that we're thinking?
Some committees do that.
Yes,
where they-
but not all.
Yeah. so
That's why I'm
That could be
saying.
something that maybe we just make as a standard for all committees. We put the link in for the policy. I think, I don't know, Mary Ann, in terms of sharing policies with the public, is that something that you would ever see happening, or?
Oh, I will say, they are shared with the public because they're an
Yeah,
agenda.
they are.
So
Right,
anybody who wants them, I mean, we've got a 300 and something page
Right.
agenda
Yeah.
for tonight. There's,
Right.
60 pages of policies in
Right.
there.
I'm just saying, when we're having a board meeting, we're not discussing
No.
what the policy is. We are just approving the reading, the first or the second reading, and then the public has the opportunity to go back and look at it, of course, but.
'Cause we're
and
doing
I'm not
business.
advocating for that, just so
No.
you know. I'm looking to streamline our board meetings, but I also want to be fair and upfront with the public about how to do things. And maybe it is just a reminder that all policies are available online, and we have maybe something that shows how somebody could get to our policies if they're interested in seeing them.
So our policies are adjacent to our agenda. So if people go to find our agenda, our policies are adjacent to those on our website. So
I was talking about board members. Is that the comments that we have here with the evaluation? Were
For
those
board members?
Was it more geared toward board members?
I mean, I don't think we teased that out, whether it was, I think us as board members know that when we have a question, we know who to go to.
Exactly.
So we do know that. It was a question, perhaps, I think is what we were teasing out, was the idea that first reading on policy number 3467 titled Boom. And, if we need a reminder that this is available to you online if you'd like to see more.
And to answer your question, I've seen it done both ways. So I've seen it addressed as policy number XYZ, 123, whatever, and the title of the policy, and the policy is available to the public. And I've also seen it, and this is for our first reading policies, and then list those and state those, and then other boards will do a brief synopsis of what the changes are to that policy. So it's really up to the board as to how you would like to
Further
proceed with
discussion.
that.
So I think we could say, though, consistently, we should be putting the policy in the report from that committee, so that it's easy for the board member to find it and review it prior to the board meeting, for sure. And then, we can decide, because I do recall years ago, we did read the policy number and the title, but then that took so long when we were having 20 policy readings. So it's always a balance of what is the right thing to do for the public. I think for sure, just a reminder that all policies are available. The agenda shows what policy we're reading. They can go and find it if they're interested in doing that.
And I think the intent of the 2 readings is it shows up by title on first reading. And so if any member of the public is interested in it, they can
Correct.
go get it between the meetings.
Correct.
So that way
They
they
can
can
have a
comment on it by the time we get
Yeah.
it for second reading and then
Yeah.
ultimately the adoption. So it's not like the information is not out there. The other side of it is with a lot of those, we're discussing them in committee and recommending the changes by the time it comes on. So it would be a lot of work to then go back and then try to summarize each of the policies and then the amendments that are occurring. Typically, that may happen with ones that are, say, a new policy, for instance, because for the benefit of the public, 90-something% of our policies are probably regulatory in nature, that we're really just adopting the administrative code provisions or the statutory provisions. So some of them are highly technical, but there are optional policies. There are some that are best practices types of things. And usually what we have done is actually provided a little summary if it's kind of a brand new policy that we're introducing for X, Y, and Z reasons, because that one's not going to have some kind of context or anything.
And we usually have a discussion about a new policy as well, so that we can understand as a board. And that doesn't happen that often, though, but I do remember 1 or 2 when we had a new policy a couple of years ago.
The Strauss-Esme provides a synopsis of the policy changes in their digest, and we can make sure that all board members get those. So that's already provided. It's a service that we subscribe to, so that before you see the policies in their new form, it's already been vetted by Strauss-Esme, who's created a summary of all the changes, usually in about a paragraph form, no more than 200 words. So we can make sure you get those too. So we can redouble our efforts to make sure if you don't get those, that you do. That might go along the lines of what you were talking about, but that's only for changes in policies, where the vast majority of the policies we adopt, and I don't know that this is common in most school districts, but within a 3-year period, we re-adopt all of our policies on a rolling basis. So, for example, in the Finance Committee, what's assigned to finance has not gone any more than 3 years, regardless of whether or not a change has happened, that it's been adopted again.
That's a wonderful practice.
So, and I think we do
wonderful
that for
practice.
all the whole policy manual, and there's, it's bigger than the Old Testament. So it's reread, but what we can do is look specifically at those things, and I'll just, for fear of repeating myself, get the summaries out for any new things that happen.
Good, great. I also think it's super helpful for new board members as well, because there's just such a tremendous number of policies. And I know the public is probably thinking, this sounds very exciting. It is not. But it is actually one of the most important parts of what we do, because it dictates everything the board does. And it is confusing. It's only been like 10 years before I really understood the policies and how they work, so.
I love seeing the dates at the bottom to see how many times we've looked at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think, this brings up a point, like the one thing that came out of this is that policies are still an issue, which is such a routine thing for us, and yet it's still a confusing thing for some board members. So if we can,
Add some clarity and continuity.
yes. Great.
Tom, as board secretary, am I wrong in thinking that you're taking notes on this discussion? And what are some of our outcomes will be from this discussion, or should I be jotting notes?
So we don't take tape scripted minutes. We capture the essence of what it is
Got
you're
it.
trying to do in general terms. Indeed, the things that I said I would do, I'll follow up on. And then, but however, what's going to happen is all the committees will get all of the summaries of all the policies, which may be of interest to you.
Yes.
We can provide you with that for sure. And perhaps even what we may be able to do, if it's possible, is provide you the links to Strauss-Esme itself, so that you can do your own research on what the genesis of the policy was and then how it's evolved over time. So you can track that all the way back if policies which you're
If you
focused
so
on.
desire.
If you desire, oh, yeah, oh, it's...
It's not a desire of mine, but others on the board
So,
are.
but I will say this, just so that Michelle Bowes was, I think, my opinion is she's spot on. It's a balancing act. Because we review all the policies so frequently, it's not uncommon for us to see 25 to 30 policies on the agenda for first or second reading. And of course, they overlap one another. And one of the things that balancing act does is it poses the problem of taking the focus away from things, because each policy, because it has one line on an agenda, is given equal attention. And so that's difficult when we're wrestling with the concepts of mattering, for example. And so I know that what we've been doing over the course of a number of years is weeding out those policies when they're gratuitous and really just a reflection of what the code already is, unless it's stamped with an M on it. And so when you see things in your policy books and we say abolish this policy, if it's not a mandated policy, the chances are what we're doing is we're endeavoring, as Robin has said and as Michelle has said, to streamline things so that we can focus on those things that have the most efficacy, so that we can take action on those as opposed to being policy wonks. Just to bring some context in terms of what the historical nature of the policies on the agenda have been.
Well, I think you bring up an important point, and I'm wondering, based on the way we scored our own self-evaluation, if we were a little more, maybe, focusing on certain policies might help us score higher next year among ourselves of being a policy-making body. So I think that was one of the other disconnects. Whatever the process is, like, we can tweak how we're more aware, but for some reason, we as a board, and it's all relative, as Mary Ann's been very helpful, we're a very strong board, but for some reason, that wasn't the highest area, and policymaking is one of our most vital, important roles as a board. That's what we do. And so if we're not feeling like we're making policies because we're signing off on 20, at a time of Esme Strauss spoon feeding, like, maybe that's, I like the idea of, we should keep doing that. It's a very good governance process to be reviewing, but at the same time, maybe being a little more conscientious and focused on certain policies that are most, that might actually need to be tweaked for Lawrence. We do that in our community committee, I think, where we're like, okay, this is what it is, but what does it mean in Lawrence, and who else needs to see it? So I think maybe that one of our goals could be that we as a board feel more engaged with the policy making, and maybe the answer is that it's only prioritizing among all of them.
And if I could just add, I know that anybody who's probably been elected in the past 10 years, and for your public, you probably don't realize this, but when I got onto my board in 1999, which I realize is when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I was given 4 4-inch binders, and that was just policy. So when you just see it as a list electronically, you don't get the full flavor of what that actually looks like. And I remember calling my husband and saying, I need a box, and I need you to help me carry this stuff into the house, because it's because that's a lot of paper. So when you just see it as a list, but by doing it the way you do it, and I really do commend you for making sure that you've reviewed each policy in a 3-year cycle, you'll never want at CUSAC time, because CUSAC is always looking at what policies are really old. And when I got onto my board, we had policies that hadn't been reviewed, excuse me, or revised in like 10, 15 years. So we all got together for 5 nights.
Mary Ann, we got 100 in governance on CUSAC.
Yeah.
So I will say,
that's wonderful.
I joke a lot around things in this district, but there's something to be said for the amount of time and attention that our administration gives to their job and this board.
You're doing the work, absolutely.
So I know that this seems like maybe, oh, we have a lot of work to do, but I know that this is a high-performing board. We don't always get along, but we actually do our job.
Absolutely.
That's being honest. I mean, I think that's me being my authentic self, but the things that we do in Lawrence are at the top of the range in terms of excellence for a district, you know, and so I know that when we did the self-evaluation, we have to find things to look to improve, but we are already doing really well, and I'm extraordinarily proud of the board and the work that we've done in the past 2 years especially.
As you should be, and you all should be. You're doing great work.
I would just comment, too, that I'm not sure how much of an issue this is. I mean, I look at our scores, we go 3-4, 3-5. I see the first comment, maybe, and that was just a placement on there, that says we need to improve our expertise as a policymaking body, and then all of the rest of the comments are like, we're doing great, we'll review them annually. So I'm actually not sure that the comments are actually reflective of a problem, and I think it's a function of how boring policies actually are. 95% of what we're doing is technical in nature because Strauss Esme's attorneys are actually wordsmithing existing policies to match changes to the administrative and statutory levels. So it's not that there's a lot of input because I will say, with the exception of 2 of us, we don't have legal training to contradict the attorneys that are actually providing these policies to us. It's only in these kind of discretionary policies. So for instance, when the AI policy, when they start rolling those types of things out, that will we become really engaged in? Because the rest of the stuff, I can't tell you. I mean, we put, 15 policies on an agenda. I rate okay on 10 of them and have no problems. And we're like, hey, there's a spelling error. We need a comma here. So I think it's more of a function of how pro forma the vast majority of policies are. And it's really the minority of our time that we're actually spent on developing or really engaging in these new policy types of things. And that's where maybe I think we could use some more help, but I'm not sure it's as negative of an issue as kind of, it was just set up to be for the discussion.
Well, the second strand that Diana and I were able to identify, and I also see some similarities in Dr. Klim's comments, is some desire for some kind of a check-in system to evaluate our progress as we are moving through the year. So we don't do this as a one-time, let's reflect back on the year and how have we done. What's important for us to note, though, is if we set up board goals, they are different from district goals and they're different from superintendent goals. So for us to develop a check-in system for evaluating our strategic plan, that's district goals. So I'm not sure where that
So generally
empties out.
speaking, the superintendent will develop action plans for the district goals. And those are the things that then, when you hear, or you ask for reporting out on the progress towards those district goals, that's what you should be looking at, are those action plans, to be able to say, is everything that was supposed to be done by, say, November 1st, done, if you develop your district and board goals over the summer. Then the next time generally is January, because it's now halfway through the year. It's a good time to kind of regroup and take a look at things, see if everything was completed. If it wasn't, how come, and when can we expect to see it completed? Okay, because one thing we all learned through COVID is stuff happens, right? So, we can't always get to things in the time frame that we want to because of outside influences. So we know that sometimes there has to be some flexibility within those action plans. That also allows you, any new board members who are coming on, to know exactly what board goals and district goals you've set and what the update is on those. March, you need to do that because by March, you're getting ready to start to do your superintendent evaluation. And if you use our evaluation system, and even if you don't, you really need to start that process by March because it's several months process to get it done. So you want to know exactly where the district is in terms of the achievement towards those goals. And then you can report out on the board goals as well. And then in June, because it's the end of the year, and how did we do? How did we get through everything? Is there anything that we need to move into the upcoming year, or that we need to continue into the upcoming year, or move forward from this one to the upcoming year? And that all helps you in terms of goal development over the summer with your district goals and your board goals. And I know I shared with Michelle and with Diana the other day that when I first got on the board, we set board goals and we set district goals, and our field service rep came in to help us with that. And she asked us the following year, how did you do towards the board goals? We had already talked about the district goals, and the superintendent had given us all a rundown. And she said, how did you do towards the board goals? And we all kind of looked at each other and said, we haven't really thought about them since we did them. So that was a good schooling on, did you develop action plans for those, which is really just one or two activities that you feel will help you achieve that goal, and then following up with that. So when you ask the superintendent to report out on the district goals, the board should be reporting out on the board goals. It lets your community, yourselves, stay focused on it, but it lets your community know not only did you do it, but you're still focused on it, and you're getting those reports 4 times a year. This doesn't have to be a 20-minute PowerPoint. You know, it's just a verbal, here's where we are, here's where we're going, what we're working on next, and that's kind of the end of it, but it keeps everybody focused on them. So that's one way of having those check-ins, is through those action plans. It's almost built into the action plans.
Can you give us an example of some other districts that have already set the goals, what they might look like? Because I think that's where we're struggling.
So-
Action versus a goal.
Okay, so for some districts, I was with a board a couple of weeks ago that just finished their superintendent's evaluation. And we know that July 1st is a statutory deadline
It's a little late.
for completing a superintendent's evaluation. And so I said to them, this needs to still be done, because you're going to lose points in CUSAC either way, because it wasn't done by July 1st. But it's still very important to do this. It's one of the biggest things, one of your biggest responsibilities as a board, outside of hiring your superintendent, is annually evaluating the superintendent. So their goal is to establish a time frame and a calendar so that we can ensure that we will complete the superintendent's evaluation by the statutory deadline of July 1st. And then part of that is taking a look at our evaluation process. It's kind of easy because we have an evaluation process calendar that we can share with you, and it has deadline marked timelines that we suggest and recommend, and then all the board needs to do is fill in those dates. So for their first action item, it's to complete the dates in the evaluation process calendar, and then to remember to stay focused on that, and that everybody gets that, so that everybody can stay focused on it. Because it's everybody's responsibility to do most of the things that we do on a board, right? It's not just one person's responsibility. So that's one of the very easy kind of.
Would that be helpful to look at then?
That's very helpful to look at. And then there's also the evaluation process calendar, which is just a one-page document that I'll send you.
Perfect.
That has everything listed just for the evaluation, and it includes the board self-evaluation too. And it has the time frames that we recommend, and then a column for the board to fill in their dates. We recommend that you do that every year after reorganization, is fill in those dates, once you know what your board meeting dates are. And I've told boards before, and it's worked every time. If you do this after every reorganization, you'll never be late again. And that's not to say that you guys were not late, but that's just an example of what one board is doing. Another board might want to become, and another board wanted to become board certified. And so they wanted to become board certified within a 2-year period. And that's 16 credits that the board receives when I come in or when somebody from NJSBA comes in and provides you with trainings. 7 of 9 of you need to be here along with the superintendent. And usually a program is an hour, and you get an hour as a credit. And so what I can do is I can take a look at what your credits are, and it's over a 4-year period. So anything from 2020 right now is still in play. So let me look at that and see what you'll get an hour for tonight, and see. And then see where you are and what you would need to have minus 16 minus whatever you have is what you would need to do within the next. You can do it in 2 years, you can do it in 1 year, you can do it in 3 or 4 years. It's up to the board.
Great, thank you.
So does anybody have a board goal area that they'd like to propose?
If not, is it possible to kind of mull this over and then set us up for January? Because I think I heard the reorganization is the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good idea.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
If I could ask, so in terms of, Dr. Clem, your comment, data review on regularly reviewed discipline data as perhaps an area of board governance of focus. Is that on the last page? Is that, am I reading that right? That this final page is where you had some
Oh, yeah.
suggestions on areas for the board to
So
focus?
in the past, I know this board has asked for, specific demographically oriented student discipline data. So I thought that that could be an area, let's look at policy, let's look at some of the measures that we're doing and informing the board regularly about restorative
Yes.
practices and things that
Yes.
we're doing to kind of support.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely.
So
That was a suggestion.
Yeah, great. And so our current strategic plan has 3 major goals. Perhaps a board goal could be to sort of develop a check-in system. I'm throwing it out there for us to mull over.
Yeah.
Not to decide tonight, but to be, what are the benchmarks we would like to see? We would like to hear back regarding our progress towards strategic plan. And one of those certainly would be discipline data as it affects DEI areas. That's a thought.
I mean, it ties into our mattering, it ties into our wellness goal,
Wellness.
so
I think
however
we
you
do
want.
get a fair amount of review of academic data because it's required. However, it did seem to come up that people still have some kind of questions around how does curriculum instruction and assessment all work together? Whether that's a real question. Something else we could propose after mulling over is perhaps an area that we would like to get some professional development as a board. That would be another
Yeah.
area to come back to in January.
And that's one that's come up
Yeah.
a lot of times, I think, that, as a board goal to improve,
Yeah.
the professional development amongst board members. I know in years past,
There it is.
especially when the board was far more factionalized, it was just improving the communications between board members, because if you weren't on that committee, you really had no idea until, and that's how we started getting into the more in-depth minutes that would be disseminated, for instance, as opposed to like when I first got on the board, I don't remember minutes from the committees going around. It was you would meet on the committee and then you would just kind of report out at the board meeting. So if you didn't, so you didn't have any advanced knowledge, you didn't even have the ability necessarily to ask questions of the committee chair. So those were the kinds of things that kind of came out of, they weren't as formal. We never did a formalized goal setting so much as kind of a work table like this where we were saying, hey, here's this kind of an issue. How do we get it to a solution? So.
We've come a long way, baby.
Okay, so we'll hold on to all of this, and in January, along with reorganization, we'll
Yes.
consider
And I'd love us to.
identifying a board goal.
Yeah.
To also think about the certification, if that fits, make that a goal, because
Yeah.
that will take care of everything.
And I'm going to put on it the performance appraisal for the CSA. That's our goal, too. Even though we always do it, I think we need to be really mindful of it because it is something that we need to plan in advance. We do get it done on time. I'm proud of us.
Yes.
It is no easy task, I'm going to be honest with you.
We do get it
that done on time, so.
Yeah, we do get it done on time.
Yes.
Every year. I do agree, I do like the idea of beginning it earlier, in
Yes.
March. And, Rob, and then we might have a back and forth, too, on,
Yeah. So we have
where to
3
go
good
from here.
goals.
That's why this really has the whole
Yeah,
agenda laid
yeah.
out for
All right,
us.
well, that might be,
So if we
that
can
might be
follow
something
that.
to do, say, follow that. Because then, Robin, as you're developing your superintendent goals, without starting in March, then you're kind of working in the dark, maybe? I don't know.
I mean, I like the idea, we do the summer retreat, which is where we sort of collapse all of that data. We've worked with, leadership team. I would love to be in sync where you're developing your goal for the year while we're developing the districts.
Yes.
So,
All right.
And 3 to 5 is the recommended number.
Oh, that's a lot.
3 is enough. 3 is enough. But we cannot handle more than 3.
We're going to take one and divide it in 2.
Fine, 3 is fine.
3
but
goals,
I
3
did
goals.
have I had left the board in 2008. We had hired a new superintendent before I left. when I came to New Jersey School Boards. And she called me a couple of weeks later, and she said, we did our district goals last night. I said, oh, did you have Kathy come in and facilitate it? Because that was the field service rep. And she said, I now have 36 goals.
Okay, that's not Lawrence.
So
That's not who we are.
I jokingly usually say, as I backed my car out of the tree, I said, which didn't really happen, but I said, you can't have 36 goals and operate the district on a day-to-day basis.
No.
So take a look at those. They're probably more objectives than they are goals. Look at 3 to 5 buckets. She did that. She called me the following week. She said, I now have 4 district goals. A bunch of those things are objectives. Everybody's happy. I wrote overarching goal statements, and everybody's happy. So no more than 5, okay? And I'm going to send you, I will send you the 12-month planning calendar, which is what Joanne was holding up.
Yeah.
I'll send you the evaluation process calendar, and I will talk to you, let you know how many credits you have. Okay?
Great.
Thank you so much for having me
you,
tonight. If
Marianne.
anybody has any questions about the self-evaluation, please let me know, okay?
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I have this at home, because it's in the book. Okay, that was great, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything?
That's exciting.
Arundel, anything? Anything? Nothing? Amanda? Okay, we move on. Personnel Committee report and, personnel action items.
All right. Personnel did meet November 6th, 8:15 to about 9:25-ish. In attendance, Dr. Robert Klim, Sean Fry, Arundel Clark, Kevin Van Heis, and Joanne Groger. Rob Paluta was absent. We reviewed current vacancies, including transportation specialist. We'll be recommending a speech therapist for Ben Franklin and Slackwood Elementary Schools. We've begun the initial screening process for the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. We'll be starting our first round of staffing meetings in order to plan for the 25-26, I can't believe it, school year already. I think we just started this one, over the next few weeks. We reviewed upcoming leave requests. We discussed academy leader roles for the high school, as well as secretary/receptionist to the superintendent's vacancy. We have 2 policies on grievance moving forward, first reading, and we will review them as well. We also looked at the 26-27 school calendar. On tonight's agenda, you will find approvals for a resignation, paid leave, unpaid leave, substitute nurse, EDPs, sub-teachers, students working for the media center. You'll see adjustments for start and end date, correction for mentee mentors, longevity amount, account numbers and salaries, appointments for staff mentors, staff members, leave replacements, regular nurse, sub-assistant, confirmations for appointments, a rescinding of an appointment, and extending of a leave. And with all of that, I'd like to move, please, P1 through P27.
Second?
Tom, with a motion and a second.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Kroger?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Pasculi?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Van Heis?
Yes.
Ms. Bose?
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. CIAPD report and OIS action items.
Okay, at the risk of extending this meeting any longer than it already is, I'm going to go off script for 1 second and say congratulations to Joanne and Kevin for winning the election, and a big hurrah to Olga, who's back there, getting her feet wet, and welcome to.
Welcome, Olga. We look forward to you joining us.
And
So we
thank you
jumped
for.
into policies and all the fun, sexy stuff.
Somebody's holding her back. She's ready to bolt.
So,
Thank you, Pepper.
and one more thing that I am looking forward to learning from Mike, who is our interim assistant superintendent. So,
Welcome, Mike.
okay. CIAPD met on November 1st at 8 a.m. In attendance along with me were Dr. Klim, Dr. King, Michelle Bose, Ms. Pasculi, and Jen Baldassari, and Dr. Pancoast. We had policy updates first reading of a new education website accessibility policy and acceptable use for generative AI policy. They're new. If you want to look them up, they're hyperlinked in your minutes. We talked about the proposed 26-27 calendar, and a very exciting submission from Dr. Pancoast was Pancoast People Pathway Proposal, which was thrilling, and it's going to make you all want to go back to high school. It was revitalized theater classes with new curricula to boost enrollment, starting with spring course selections. A redesigned AP research class to equip seniors with capstone project prerequisites. All right, this one's for you, Joanne. Health and PE Senior Experience, offering career-oriented training in lifeguarding and gym supervision.
I love it.
There you go. Career readiness pathways and academy offerings with certifications in business, and updates to history and library programs are being mapped out, and the expansion of AP and dual enrollment courses, particularly with Rowan College in Burlington County. That's exciting. Dr. Klim highlighted IMSE observation outcomes, noting student growth in reading and writing goals and progress metrics. A rubric was introduced for screening the assistant superintendent candidates, and we had a second reading of curriculum content and service animals, and we got updated on district testing schedule. Let's see. There was growth in kindergarten and first grade early literacy, and I think that's it. We looked at the ECV contract. With that, I would like to move OIS 1 through 3 and OSS 1 through 6.
Second?
Tom, with a motion and a second.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Groger?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Pasculi?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hise?
Yes.
And Ms. Bose?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Finance Committee report and school business management action items.
We had a very active and enthusiastic Finance Committee meeting, as we typically do when we get hyped up on caffeine and coffee at the diner. But it was, as Tom alluded to at the earlier report, a lot of our focus this month was on the budget process. As expected at this time of year and every year that I've been on the board, obviously it always the initial kind of first blush comes in over cap, as it contains kind of projections, it contains wish list item, as then the board starts to look at, or specifically the administration starts to look at then prioritizing and seeking out efficiencies, cost containment measures. So this is kind of on course for what we do every year. But we've at least started teeing up that and getting some ideas. It's kind of a great time to start reflecting on our existing programs, and then where we can actually find efficiencies, and then the interrelated nature of everything that goes on in the classrooms and in the buildings, how it comes back to budgets and facilities. One of the things that we discussed, for instance, is that this is one of the smallest kindergarten classes, for instance, that is incoming. That tees up a discussion. Is this really just a bubble, or is this going to be kind of a trend as we're seeing, especially with the state's affordable housing numbers out and the growth that has occurred for planning board approvals over the last couple of years as those developments start coming online in the next couple of years. But then how we can sometimes take advantage of those things, because while, our kindergarten numbers are shrinking, our pre-K numbers, we are hoping and looking to grow. So all of a sudden it creates efficiencies, and it's really a great way through the budget process and the number crunching actually to really re-examine a lot of our programming. So that's really where the bulk of our meeting was spent. And then also the referendum update is that there's no substantive update. Everything remains on track, and we are still awaiting essentially the state assistance numbers for those for the benefit of the public. We've kind of scoped out the project and we submit to the state, and we're waiting for their kind of review and comment, and hopefully a nice subsidy grant to help offset the funds of that. And as Robin had indicated, this is really for us an investment in our future and frankly the next 3/4 of a century to set ourselves up. And so as we have our cost containment measures for our annual budget, we are also looking at the long-term viability for the district. So that was essentially the meeting, and with that, I will move SBM 1 through 16.
Second.
Tom, with a motion and a second.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Groger?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Pasculi?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hise?
Yes.
Ms. Bose?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. So, second opportunity for public input.
Jim Cleave, 7 East Barrow Lane. I'll write it afterwards, so I don't.
It's okay, you don't have to write down, you
take any
said
more
it.
of your
They're
time.
fine.
But I'm getting increasingly reluctant to get up here and flaunt my ignorance, because I go back so far that the only people that remember what things I'm talking about are going to be Tom, and Pepper wasn't on the board, but she was always here. And that's when there was a lot more paper and a lot less internet, and it seemed to me a lot more give and take between the boards, and of course also the meetings were awful long and the people didn't agree as much maybe, but so I guess what I'm getting at is I find it for somebody that comes out, a member of the general public coming out to the meetings, you can't learn very much, and this is not by fault, because I don't mean to say I'm criticizing you guys, because like Dr. Klim said, the work that any Board of Ed makes for no money, when I go to council meetings, and I'm not knocking them, but I don't think do half the work you guys do. So I don't mean that, but I'm trying to figure out how, if you're interested, I guess you got to get to know the website better, as us dinosaurs is what it sounds like, to get to know something about what goes on in committees, which is, because otherwise you're coming up here and you're looking at a whole lot of things, people voting yes on everything, and most of us don't know, at least, I don't know, if maybe I'm the only one, but I don't understand very much of it. So I guess that it sounds like you have a website that us not semi-literate computer people can wade through and follow your thing.
If I could, certainly, Mr. Clee. I mean, this is a town built on relationships, and I've known you since I was 10, so you can always call me anything you need. But I do think that
you don't have enough time.
always have time for you. But I think that the website has been a good first step, and I think the primary means of communication for anybody who has questions for what's on the board, or even what's happening here, is certainly Michelle has always made herself available. Certainly the board members make themselves available. And most importantly, Tom and Robin and their offices and staff spend a lot of time fielding questions from the public. So if there are questions, and not just for you, for any members of the public, we try to remain as accessible as possible.
And also, Mr. Cleek, the website has a lot of features to make it more accessible and easier to use. I don't know if you've ever looked at it at all, but it is not as complicated as some websites are. I think Robin and Jen have done a tremendous job in our tech team to make it a much easier website to navigate than even like 3 years ago. So we throw that to you.
tell me if I'm already past my time, probably.
A little bit, but-
The three things, the OS 3, 4, and 5. Now, I see that they're identical just for different, just 3 different months. And then, and so they're non-public.
Yeah, that's a
Schools.
pass-through.
Hmm?
We get the money for non-public schools, the things from the state, and those items are passed through, they pass through us. It's
Uh-huh.
not our money that they're spending.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what's non-public school?
Oh, like.
Charter school?
Notre Dame isn't.
Oh,
Lawrence
Chapin's.
School doesn't-
oh, not even part of the district.
Right.
And the out-of-district placements, I see them every month, and they're different lengths, and they're very substantial for just one. And am I correct in thinking that they're probably things that won't be able to be brought back in district, even with the?
I don't know. There are certainly some students that we will never be able to
Yeah, I figured.
accommodate, but some of the students we have going out of district now are because we don't have the room to continue what they've gotten at LIS into the middle school.
Mhm.
So that's a key part of the expansion at the middle school, to create spaces where these vulnerable students can learn.
Yeah, but that's one of the things, then that's, I don't, in that report last meeting, one thing I noted was that they had, how many people, how many students there were in each section, and how many of them met the standards and how many of them didn't. And then in the out-of-district ones, of course, it was just the opposite. Almost nobody did.
Right.
And that stands to reason. And I wondered about whether there might be any consideration have a different rating for them, because there's no way they can be competitive at the same level.
That's a great idea. That's been taken up by New Jersey State, and they prefer to, if I'm correct, Vanessa, they prefer to have us have a uniform evaluation system regardless of where you sit in the classroom.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. New business. Okay.
On tonight's agenda, you'll find several things, but I wanted to draw your attention to NB3. I love the quote and the passion behind this. When you're kind to others, it not only changes you, it changes the world, and that touched my heart. I wanted to just draw attention to that. You'll also see substitute appointments, clearances, leave appointments and adjustments, account and program adjustments, a bus driver appointment, mentor appointments, a job description, approvals for volunteers, EDPs, and with that, I'd like to move NB1 through NB24, please.
Second.
Tom, with a motion and a second?
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Groger?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Pasculi?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hise?
Yes.
Ms. Bose?
Yes.
Motion carried.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Have a wonderful night.